It's on and popping.
Crazy. Good evening, soulmates. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense.
We're here to make it make sense. And once again, we're going to talk about some things that we probably need to talk about, but y'all don't like to talk about it, but we're talking about it.
Absolutely.
Today, we're talking about narcissists in the Bible.
What? You mean to tell me narcissists exist in the Bible? About it, tell me.
It's a whole lot of narcissists in the Bible.
It is. It is.
Like,
absolutely.
Really, like the first stories that we hear start off with a very narcissistic situation. Adam and Eve, but right after that, you got Cain and Abel.
You do.
Cain killed Abel, but the thing is, why did Cain kill Abel? You know the story?
Jealousy, right? He wanted what he had, his lady.
Whoa. I didn't expect you to say that. The reason I didn't expect you to say that because that part is not in the Bible. However, there's other stories in other books that have not been included in the Bible that do allude to that.
How did I know that?
I don't know. Maybe we talked about it before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are extra books that have not been included in the canon of the Bible that explain exactly what Cain and Abel was kind of fighting over. Right. Now, in the Bible, as far as what we have in church, it tells us that they both presented God with a sacrifice. Cain had one sacrifice, Abel had another. Abel gave God some like a blood sacrifice. He killed lambs and whatever it was.
Right.
He presented that to God. Cain had vegetables,
and
God didn't like that. He's like, this is an unsatisfactory.
Is that really what God said?
Yeah, if you open the Bible, he's like, I don't like this sacrifice.
Okay.
And because of that, from what our version of the Bible tells us, Cain got upset because God honored Abel's sacrifice. And then he went and killed him.
Okay.
But what you just talked about is something else that I heard extra outside of the Bible. I heard that they was really fighting over one of their sisters to marry. And God was trying to figure out which one was going to be, I don't know if God was trying to figure it out, but anyway, they was trying to figure out which one was going to be more suitable
for the wife.
Yeah, for his wife.
Right.
And she was like the most beautiful out of all of them and blah, 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 and whatever. And I guess as a challenge, they was trying to make sacrifices to God to prove which one was going to be right, which one is more worthy. So where does the narcissistic part come in?
The jealousy. First of all, why are we doing all of this for a person, number one? Because that's not at all what love looks like. But no.
I mean, obviously back in their day, in their situation, they felt like they needed to prove something to get this woman.
It's up to her to decide who she wanted to be with. Really.
I get it. Ultimately, I guess from what I read, she ended up with the brother anyway, the one that killed for her.
But what does it remind you of? This sounds like society. And this is the thing that this is how the world has always existed. So women feel like they have to compete now because now there's less men available. So now we even feel like we have to compete in order to get the attention, to get validation. So instead of us loving and supporting each other, we feel threatened by each other. And it could be said about men too. Yeah, the power of y'all know the song. And I guess I just want to rewrite this story because I'm not a piece of, I'm not that. It should be more than just that. But we live in a world where money,
power, sex, and
basically,
fame, all that.
And I just don't live with that anymore. I don't agree with that. But again, this is what's instilled in the Bible. So what have we been teaching the collective? What have we been teaching the masses? This exact same structure and system for centuries
of competition,
absolutely.
Of somebody looking
toxic masculinity,
right. Somebody looking to be the one on top.
Yes.
But in this story, so here's what I got. Because God did not honor Cain's sacrifice of the vegetables. He's like, oh, what is this? Some cabbage or something?
Right.
Give me some blood. Why do God? Well, that's another question. Why do gods like blood?
Why? Is that true? I think that's just some gruesome.
I want to save that maybe for another podcast, another episode. But if you think about it, all the gods in the world like blood. The god of, no matter what god you're talking about, somebody does some sacrificing to get some blood. The Hawaiian gods, the Incas, the Mayans, the Jewish gods, all the gods like blood. We talk about the precious blood of Jesus.
We do. Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that one day. What is it about blood that the gods like?
Please make it make sense. Yeah. We are going to talk about that. But getting back to the narcissist.
So if God honored one brother's sacrifice over the other, we easily see what happened. Like he felt like he had to be the one on top. He had to win. He had to win the beautiful sister as his wife. You know what I'm saying? And let's redefine narcissist for the people.
Right, because
to tie it in better.
We hear the term all the time. Like I even mentioned it on one episode because it is a term that absolutely does exist. And months ago, I did a live about the narcissist empath story, the victim perpetrator story, because since the beginning of time, that's what we've always seen. And I think as individuals, as children of God, God created us this way to have these tests so that we can see ourselves and realize that we do have narcissistic traits that I need to change, because essentially what that is a person who is trying to control the way people show up for them, the way people love them. It's a fear thing. It's just a defense mechanism. And it's very much a toxic thing. And it's basically how the individuals themselves lack the love within. It's an insecurity, essentially, is what it is.
So what are some of the traits that you would?
I would say, for me, in my experience, the minute you can start telling this individual is lying, telling tall tales, trying to make themselves seem bigger than what they are, that was a red flag for me. That was a clue. But I tried to act like I didn't notice it. I'm like, okay. I know some people like to exaggerate. But then the more he would overstep a boundary, he never would take responsibility, never would take accountability, would not even acknowledge it. And I started to notice he lacked emotional intelligence. It was like he had no empathy nor understanding.
No empathy, no understanding, quick to lie.
Yes.
So back to the Bible story, we also get our first lie. I think is the first lie in the Bible. So after Cain killed Abel, God came around and he was like, so where's your brother? First thing he said was, am I my brother's keeper?
Like, we saw how New Jack City ended.
Right.
Exactly.
That's like the first lie. You know you killed your brother, but you talking directly to God. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Walking like you're talking. Right. You can take a life, then man up to it. Right. But that's the thing with narcissists. They can't take accountability. They won't take responsibility. They will lie until they black and blue in the face. Never willing to see themselves or take accountability. And then they're going to always try to control the narrative in another individual.
Right. All this so you could mirror your sister.
All of this. See, trying to manipulate love. Again, love does not look like that, but that's what we were taught. So now we think we got to go through all of these extreme measures to be in relationships, to keep a relationship. Again, all of these things that's trying to control somebody else, to validate us, to make us feel good. If you're a narcissist, you're not going to be able to truly accept or receive love because you're too busy trying to pretend to be somebody and something that you're not. Who are you? You don't even know who you are.
Like, how come he couldn't just say, oh, okay, then God don't like my sacrifice. Let me go get another one that he'll like.
Right.
Like, to me, that's so simple. Yeah, you like my brother's sacrifice. You want me to kill a lamb, I'll kill a goat or something. But make it easy. You know what I'm saying? Make it easy.
I agree. But that's not the only form of narcissism in the Bible. You have King Saul, you have Jezebel. Again, everybody knows Jezebel. That's the only woman that you hear about. That Jezebel is the woman that manipulates with her body, her sensuality, her sex. We see this all the time. People look at me and think I'm a Jezebel because of my confidence, the way I dress. And again, I do this for me because I feel good about the skin that I'm in. I've never been a Jezebel, but that term, it can be very much misused. And because it's like that in the Bible, for generations since the beginning of time, women have been portrayed as Jezebel, either Jezebel or something less than. It was never like a divine feminine queen.
Our culture has turned it into that. Yes. And we even say terms like Jezebel spirit.
Yes. Like that, right? Well, where is the divine feminine goddess in the Bible? Where is she at? Where is that example? I mean, standing in her feminine power, not being led by, not giving birth, I'm saying, right. Woman saying, I'm standing confidently in my truth, owning my strength, willing to do things for others, because it doesn't just have to be a man that can do that. Women can do it too with a man, but where are the women that take the lead and say, no, I want to do things this way? You don't see that portrayed too much in the Bible.
Many scholars would bring up Mary Magdalene. And in that role,
once again,
someone who transformed to whatever she used to be.
What she used to be,
what they think she used to be.
But anyway, she had to be a whore. Again, why did she have to be a whore? Why were the women always using their sex?
Right. What I was about to say is that maybe not clergymen or pastors, but there are scholars who believe that Mary Magdalene played the role of being a leader in Jesus' ministry.
They don't talk about that.
No, we talk about that, but more than likely, she probably did.
I heard that. I heard that exact same thing. One of the biggest
followers, and she was instrumental. She was actually a teacher, and
I was also told she supported Jesus financially. God forbid a woman financially supports a man. What? Because the world we live in, that is a no-no.
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious in the Bible that Jesus would have had some type of money.
He had, yeah.
Since they was renting out rooms and stuff, you know what I'm saying? They renting banquet halls for the Last Supper, and they had some money somewhere. They had to have money. That's true. So you might have something there. Like maybe the women in the group were the money makers. Maybe they were making clothes or whatever they could have done to help support the ministry.
Right.
You never know.
Because from my understanding, most spiritual leaders, they don't usually have a lot of money, or at least if they do, they don't lead with that. They give, and they're not flamboyant. Like the pastor is not going to lock you in the church and say you're not leaving until you give me 40 grand. Jesus, I don't think Jesus was doing things like that, right? So,
I mean, Jesus' answer was the total opposite. When people ask, how can I get into the kingdom of heaven? His answer was, go and sell all your possessions. Now, what do we think that means? Did he mean that literally, go sell your possessions, go sell your stuff and come follow me?
I'm selling the Peloton, by the way. So
we're selling a lot of stuff here. We don't have a yard sale.
Sell all the possessions because I don't want it. But go ahead.
I mean, just think about that. You don't need everything.
We don't.
You don't. There's another parallel too. So I don't know if y'all ever heard of the eye of the needle.
No, elaborate.
Okay, so there's okay, first of all, I don't know everything, so I'm about to explain something that I kind of don't know all the details about, but I'm about to try to explain it to you. So in one of the Jewish gates of the town square or whatever, the town perimeter, whatever, there's gates, right, where the merchants would come in to buy and sell. You come in on your camel, right? The thing is, if you go in and you buy some stuff, right, you know you got to pack your camel with all the stuff that you buy, right? You had to fit through this certain door that was very narrow. And they called it the eye of the needle.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't know it was referred to as that.
Right. So, but then this is the merchant door. So you had to kind of watch what you bought. You couldn't be overzealous with what you couldn't overspend. Right. You had to make sure that you purchased things that you could fit to go out with.
That's right.
Now, if you're walking on foot,
that's a lot to carry.
Well, but you know you can carry what you can carry.
And that's it.
You might have some valuable things in your backpack.
Is it valuable? Is it worth losing your body, mind, and soul for it?
Yeah.
Because that's where we get lost in our culture now.
Right.
We willing to sacrifice ourselves. And then this is why, for example, going back to the narcissist empath story, me being an empath, I realized that opposites going to attract. And the more you evolve and elevate, of course, all sorts of things and creatures and characters and clowns are going to come out the woodwork. Right. So it was, at the time, new to me to even have encountered a narcissist. But when I saw it, I said, okay, this is interesting. Never met a person like this. Never even heard of it, but never seen one in person in real life. So the term gets used a lot. And I know in the psychological world, and they try to psychologize in medical terms, but for me, it's a spiritual thing, because it's the disconnection from the individual from themselves and what their heart and soul is, what God created them to truly be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like being a narcissist, you have to see yourself in a certain type of way. You have if you're going to be a narcissist, you're looking at yourself like, for one, I don't care what people think of me if they see me in a negative way, because I'm gonna present myself in a positive way regardless. Like, no matter what I do, no matter what kind of evil I do, what kind of lies I tell, I'm not gonna own up to it. Never. I'm not gonna be responsible for it. I can do whatever I want to, and I'm gonna make you see me in a positive way, or at least I'm gonna pretend. Right. I'm gonna think I'm gonna be seen. That's their biggest concern: to be seen. In a positive way.
So here's the thing with that. God said that doesn't work in 2025.
He told you that?
God told me that. God told me that in 2024.
My dog said, amen.
I know. That will not work in this new world. You can't keep pretending. People are not going to invest their time, money, and energy in anything that's false or not real. We can see right through that. And then me being such a intuitive, spiritualist person, I can see through it. I saw it then, but I was ignoring what I was hearing. My intuition, I didn't want to hear it. But it was clear as day, like, this person is not real. But you can tell. So why would anybody want to invest in your services or work with you if you're not being authentic, or be with you when you can't even be real? Who are you?
I think a lot of people are waking up to see these type of behaviors, and we learning how to step away from it.
Challenge the status quo. Right. It is. We lived in a world based off this imbalance. The narcissist empath was always, in some sense, somebody had to have more power than the other. You go to work, the leaders got more power, allegedly. Right. Most people's households, it's like somebody has more power. Why? Because what was it demonstrated? Who was doing that in the Bible? Who are those leading with power instead of love?
Right. Well, there's a lot of examples.
Exactly. My point. A lot of examples.
Right. The governments, the kings, there's always, I always look at the villains, though. Like, all villains to me, if you're going to be a villain, you have to be somewhat of a narcissist.
In what way?
Because, well, not all villains, but I look at people in the Bible, certain characters in the Bible.
Okay.
Like your Judases and people like that. Like, think of him, for example. This guy gave up the Savior.
Sold his soul to the devil.
For 30 pieces of silver, 30 shekels.
I wonder what his karma was.
Supposedly they said he felt guilty later and hung himself.
See? Make it make sense, soulmates. So that's my point.
He did all that for a little change. I guess 30 pieces of silver back then, they say, is worth like 120 denarii. So in their day, it would have been like 4 months worth of.
I understand. And he couldn't live with himself because of the guilt and the regret. Right. And a lot of people live in the world like this. And me being a suicide survivor, this is what I'm trying to get people to see. We got to stop holding on to these things. Admit your faults. Judas could have forgiven himself, asked God for forgiveness, just like all of us can. But if you can't take accountability and man up and own what you do, then you won't heal. You won't be humble enough to ask God for forgiveness.
Narcissist.
Exactly. Hence,
couldn't even
love themselves enough to see that they was worth more.
Right. Couldn't even accept his own forgiveness. Like, I couldn't even take
it. It's so disheartening because I'm such a lover, and I just feel sorry for people like that. Yeah. Because I know what it's like to pretend to be something that you're not. Not on purpose, but because I was afraid. But for you to deliberately just continuously pretend to and you wear this mask constantly, that has got to be an overwhelming life. You have to be lost in yourself. Think about all the Hollywood celebrities.
I think though, when people are in a certain bracket of what's the word I'm looking for? Not position in society. When people hold
Certain
themselves
status.
in certain status. That's the word. Status. I think you have to protect that. We talked about that before too. Like,
so go back to that. They have to protect it. So protect what? Their status?
Their reputation.
The
status comes with the reputation. Like, if you're seen, especially pastors and people like that, they gotta hide everything.
So if you would just practice what you preach and walk it like you talk
then
it,
you don't have nothing to hide.
You don't have anything to hide.
So you got two different types of people. You got, because we all are sinners, right?
We are. We're supposed to be.
We're all supposed to be.
We're supposed to learn lessons.
Right.
God never told us to be perfect.
Right, but we're
you all gotta
sinners. We all do some things that don't benefit us sometimes. But the thing is, you got some people who don't care, or they're not as held in bondage to their sins, which I kind of honor those people, because they have the ability and the power to still overcome it, and then they don't go on to that type of person is easier to forgive themselves and to forgive other people too.
Right.
But then you have the one that has protected reputation. That person is going to keep telling lie after lie after lie after lie,
and it's so overwhelming.
And then they're going to be holy in front of everybody else. They're doing all kind of whatever behind closed doors, but they got to protect the reputation. I honor people that can just do what they do, say they're sorry, and then go on and live and learn.
But learn, don't repeat it. Live and learn. And that's when God can tell, okay, they're ready for what's next. Exactly. They did learn the lesson.
Right.
But it starts with being honest, being accountable, being able to admit, no, I don't have it all together, even if I am the pastor. Because who told you had to be this perfect person? Who told you? Where did it come from that they had to be perfect? That they had to put up with this status? We put so much pressure on status, on titles, on the letters, on the credentialing. And at the end of the day, when judgment day comes, Spirit does not care how many masters you receive. What did your soul serve his purpose? Did it heal, teach, love, connect, support? Or did you divide, conquer, coerce, control, force? How did you live? And that's the problem I have with pastors. Be honest about who you are. You are a human being, not human doing.
Speaking of humans, can I say something? I'm tongue-tied. Maybe I shouldn't say this.
Say it. Mercury is direct today now.
Okay, I'm going to spit it out. I'm going to say something that might make a lot of people mad.
Tell them why you mad, son.
Cause, man, I think part of that pressure of being perfect is the way we look at Jesus.
My brother, Jesus.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of pressure on the reputation of Jesus as being perfect, to the point where people are willing to say things like, he never had sex, he never had a girlfriend.
Who said that? They said the same thing about Michael Jackson.
Right.
Who said that? Where? Because it was never mentioned in the Bible?
Ask everybody in church. Everybody in every single church will most likely say, oh no, Jesus didn't have a wife. Jesus didn't get married.
Why? Because it wasn't in the Bible?
Or just because we kind of hold him at some type of status to where he was overly perfect and didn't have human emotions.
No, Jesus bled blood on the cross, right?
Exactly. So I think along with that, he probably got scared. He got mad. He got angry.
He was scared. What did he yell out on the cross?
He said, you want me to say it in?
Yes, please.
Said, I can't remember, but I know what it says. I know what it means. He said, my God, why have thou forsaken me?
Fear.
And it sounded something like, Eloi, Eloi, something like that.
Right. but at the end of the day, yes, he's terrified. He's fearful because he was a human.
Exactly. He even asked God when he was in the garden. He said, can you please take this cup from me? You know, he was like, in other words, do I really have to do this?
Do I have to do this?
Can you make it that I don't have to do this, please? I'm scared.
Jesus. I know.
He told all his disciples to stay and watch and pray. So do you know what that means? We don't talk about that in church. Like, why did he ask everybody to stay awake? He wanted everybody to stay awake and watch and pray. Watch and pray for what?
That he makes it during the night?
I don't know. That's kind of like a mystery to me because what he said was stay awake, watch and pray that you don't fall into temptation. Like, what was the temptation part? Like, temptation to do what?
Just in general.
Temptation to fight if they came around after him. Temptation to leave him.
All of it. Because I'm sure they were all tempted. Of course they were.
To do something, right.
And Judah's the only one that fell for the bait. And look what happened. And I think that's essentially what Jesus was saying, because it takes strong individuals. Like I always say, we have to be in alignment. Right. What I'm trying to co-create, I want to do it like-minded people. I can't do it alone because we are stronger together, right? But you got to have the right ones.
So what I was saying was that we hold Jesus at a certain high status of being perfect. Like, he didn't have no emotions, and never had sex, and you're horny, none of that. But I think because of that, we look at ourselves and we like, oh, well, I got to be seen as perfect too. I can't do nothing, and if I do, I'm a lie about it.
Why?
because
who's going to judge you here on this earth? Who's going to judge you? Oh, them, the others, your family, friends, the world.
All the above.
All of the things that people that don't matter.
But what if we didn't do that to ourselves? What if we didn't give ourselves that pressure of being so perfect to where we just accept the fact that we do make mistakes, we mess up, we miscalculate, we do a lot of things that don't benefit us.
And that's how you learn what not to do.
Yeah, just learn what not to do and then move on.
And I believe that it's those lessons that you learn that get you on the right path of what you should be doing.
Right.
If you're willing to learn it.
Narcissists in the Bible. I got another example. Another set of twins. Jacob and Esau. Okay, so you got two twins that was born.
Yes, all twins are two. FYI. But go ahead.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's why I love her. She's smart. Okay, so twins came out. One came out before the other. The one that came out first naturally gets the birthright, right? Okay. The one that came out second does not get the birthright, right? Okay. Esau was the first one that came out. If I'm telling this story right. If I'm saying anything wrong, get in the comments.
Oh, you know they will.
Right. I want y'all to do that. Correct me, because I don't have to be right all the time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
All good leaders are willing to learn.
Exactly. So as far as I recollect the story,
okay,
Esau came out first, so he should naturally get the birthright. Jacob came out, and he was the second brother. Now, there was a trickery that happened. Here comes the narcissistic part. In this situation, the guy that we traditionally call the good guy, I'm calling him the bad guy.
Talk about it.
Don't get mad at me. But here's the thing. One day, as they grew up and they became older, Esau was kind of broke. Like I don't know if he squandered all his money or whatever, but he didn't have no food. He was broke. He was hungry. He was like, oh my God, I'm hungry. So Jacob comes along and he's like dangling food in front of him, like I didn't waste all my money or whatever.
Look at me.
Yeah, whatever. Like look at me. Like look at me. And he goes, so if you really hungry enough, give me your birthright, and I give you this bowl of soup. Literally a bowl of soup, a porridge or a stew or something. I think the Bible calls it stew or something. Anyway, so his brother dying, ready to starve or whatever. Why would you steal your brother's birthright and you gonna offer him some soup? You know he's starving and hungry.
So that's your brother, your flesh and blood.
No empathy.
None whatsoever. He's willing to win at any cost.
Right. He wanted to win the birthright.
No matter who you step on. That is a classic narcissist.
If my brother come in right now, every time he come in,
questions asked.
Right. I'm gonna ask him if he wants something to eat. If I'm cooking something, he wants something. But let him be starving.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna bribe him with some type of.
That's so sick. But people do that, and it's so disgusting. Hell, that's the way our culture exists. Period. That's the way our government runs. That's how corporate. That's disgusting. And families are like this. People lose loved ones, and then now we're fighting over money, over little things. When you know your family need it, you would rather keep it because of something that happened in the past. Make it make sense, soulmates. Where is the love in all of this?
And there's another part of the story too. Correct me if I'm wrong again, because maybe I'm mixing up different sets of twins. But anyway, it's another situation when one of the brothers came out real hairy. Like his skin was red and he had hair all over him, right? Man. And I think it all ties in. The mother actually wanted the other brother to win the birthright because he was her favorite. So what they did to trick the father, who was old and blind, they went and got some fur and put it on the hands of the brother that's still in the birthright, and then went and approached the father and like, I'm ready to get my
birthright, my inheritance.
Yeah, I'm ready to get my trust fund. You know what I'm saying? He said, see, it's me, it's Esau. See, feel my hand. He had the fake fur on his hand. See, feel me, it's me.
Just chinchilla.
Right. So this guy, and now mind you, this Jacob guy is the one that we end up calling Israel later. So the whole Jewish lineage, don't get mad at me, the whole Jewish lineage is founded on this narcissistic brother who cheated, stole the birthright from his brother over a bowl of soup, and then the mother jumped in too to help him with the fake fur to fool the father.
Wow.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
That says a lot. Interesting.
But our whole religiosity is based on this one brother.
Right. Make it make sense.
I can't make that make sense.
We're still living like that. This is why we're doing this. So just think about what they've been teaching us. It's time to unlearn these things, to just really become more self-aware and ask yourself, are you in a narcissistic situation? A lot of us are in it. We don't even know it, because the opposite of that is codependency. Narcissists can't be narcissists without somebody to manipulate and control.
Without somebody being hungry enough to take
Thank you. Right, so they're going to pray, and they can smell, like somebody said, sharks can smell the blood. So if they see that you're desperate enough, they will come pounce on you. Right. So we are not in a position like that. They can't exist as narcissists. They don't have anything or anybody to control. Now, true enough, somebody will always be willing to sacrifice themselves for something that they need to realize they don't have to.
But I think there's some lessons to be learned in all of these examples that we brought up, even in the Bible. Like, I'm not one to say that the Bible is trash or it's fake, but what I do believe is that we have done some misinterpreting of it, and we missed some of the lessons. Like, I think we should look at some of these characters, even their narcissistic behaviors, and analyze how could they have played it out differently.
Right.
Let's be the brother who's not squandering our money. You know, if you own the birthright.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
So how can we not squander it? So if I'm my brother's keeper and I see my brother squandering, at what point do you say, brother, I can help you grow this, maybe not squander it, and let's build something? See, now this is a whole different conversation. This is what they could have did differently. This is what I want us to start doing differently. Let's stop manipulating and controlling each other. Let's help build and grow together. Right. How can we build wealth together? They brothers. We could have built together, bruh. We could have done this together.
No matter which one has the birthright.
No matter what. And imagine how much more successful and abundant we both could have been had we did this together.
Exactly. Even Cain and Abel. Like, so, I mean, well, okay. Yeah, they're fighting over the one sister to get the wife.
Quite sure they had plenty of other ones.
According to the story, maybe not as beautiful as her. So okay. I don't know. But the thing is,
still does not matter.
I mean, if it's only one, and if it's only one prize, and you're trying to both get it.
No, because what's for you will find you. You don't even have to do that. God gonna give it to you. See, that's what they didn't know.
Sisters, though?
Somebody else got a sister.
Maybe
God would have made sure they got it. They just had to know that they was worthy of it. Be patient.
At some point, they felt like they had to compete. So they offered these sacrifices to God, and God only liked one. But I think let's find a solution in this problem. If God didn't like your sacrifice, what could you have done?
I don't see God saying it. I just can't.
See,
I can't.
I think that was them coming up with that competition. They decided, let's offer these sacrifices, and whichever one God honors, that's the one is the winner. That sounds humanistic.
It very much so does.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
Not my God, because why would my God try to outweigh who gives more? My God don't work that way. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Right. That don't even sound divine at
all. It doesn't.
So I think that was a human construct that they came up with to decide, okay, who wins the prize, who gets the beautiful wife, or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. What they could have done is both share it. No. And
she probably would have if she was the only one.
Right, if she was the
I'm saying because in those times, in order for me to make sure we have more children, more offspring, because I know incest was just a thing back then.
They could have worked out a deal.
They could have, and I probably would have had to if that was all that. Then, if I was that woman, okay, I got to do this for the team,
for the family,
for our legacy. I generate. Now I don't have to do that no more because I'm not doing it.
Right,
but back then I can understand that.
But God told them the commandment, the only commandment they had was to what?
Did God tell them? No, I'm just.
I don't know. Maybe according to the story, they were supposed to populate the world.
Exactly right.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. Right.
So they could have shared her.
Yeah, it was never that serious to lose a life. It was never that serious.
I mean, if they're already talking about doing their sisters, I mean,
right? Why can't she just take both of them? Right. Yeah, we already fornicating it with incest.
I mean, they didn't call it that. It was,
I know
it was cool then.
I get it, like Game of Thrones. I get it.
Exactly, Game of Thrones. So yeah, they could have just shared.
Yeah. That no competition. And that's funny that you say that. Now, if you dare. If Pastor ever said that in church, oh my gosh, what? No, you could never talk about that. It's nothing right nor wrong about it. It just is. And here it is, 2025, and you still have people that still think that way. That, oh no, he was just a bad brother, and that was just wrong without even understanding fully how that brother and that whole dynamic, we're still living that. Even in the church, it still happens.
How could what's the other one? So we did those twins, Jacob and Esau. They could have shared the birthright. They could have built together, started a business or something.
They could have.
We talked about Judas.
Right. Yeah. So you also had King Saul.
Okay, let's get into him.
So it's my understanding that, and I just want to reference my notes.
Wait, Saul or Solomon? Wait, who are you talking?
No, I was talking about I was talking about Saul.
Okay.
So the story is King Saul is in book 1, Samuel. Basically, Saul's rising to kingship and how he was jealous of David and his attempts to get David killed.
Okay.
The narcissist is evident in the fact that in his refusing to submit to God's will, his fixation on his own reputation, and his paranoia regarding David, he felt threatened by David. So let me get David out. See, this is why narcissists, they feel like they have to compete with people. Because now David was a threat. And this is what I don't understand. Instead of you just listening to what God was telling you, what you start doing? No, David's the problem. I'm going to go kill David. We do this all the time. Look outside of ourselves for a scapegoat or somebody else.
Right. But look what David did, though, when he did get into power.
What David do?
Boy, David, he looking outside his window. And he see a beautiful lady. And he like,
what's your name, Shawty?
No.
He didn't say that.
No. he looking at, he was like, I knew who she belonged to. And sent somebody to go kill him. That's what David did.
Wow.
Right.
See?
Oh, if I'm wrong, correct me, because I'll be mixing up my Bible story. But I think I'm right. I think David did that.
That's interesting. We just instantly off with their head. The minute somebody,
right? No,
that's strange.
Right, you don't go find another woman. You just see.
You just say, "No, I'm gonna take them out."
And because I'm the king, I'm powerful.
And this is why we put so much emphasis on status and title. Just because you're the king doesn't mean that you're right. You don't know everything.
You got no empathy for this other man.
So how are you really being a king? Because if you're a real king, then you have empathy, love, and respect for all people, kings. When I say I'm looking for my king treats everybody the same. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect.
You would think.
Even as a president, they should be thinking the same way, because you think about humanity, not just individually.
Right. And this, what's crazy about David is that how he got to his position. Like, God helped him out and assisted him in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. Helped him kill Goliath and helped him kill a bear. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a young boy, like, that's a man who you would think always have God at his heart. Mm-hmm. Like, man, God is my all, my everything. But I need to,
new levels, new devils.
Right. You get into the king spot and now you want to kill another man.
Because remember, like you said, they gotta maintain that status, the status. Right. They don't know that that's right. That's not how you maintain it. They don't understand that, and that's why they kept going wrong. Because if they was working in connection and alignment with God, none of this wouldn't even have to happen. You don't even have to go through all that. God was gonna give. If he had been patient, he would have got something better.
Maybe.
That's how I believe it.
People don't act right.
We don't.
Right. I might have to sit a little further away. Somebody might try to kill me.
Oh no, not over me.
But somebody might kill you.
I dare they try it. Off with their heads.
But that's wild, though.
It is.
Like, we got all these characters in the Bible. I didn't think I was going to be able to come up with so many examples.
Oh, I'm not surprised, because the more I hear people when they reference the Bible, like the conversation I had with the young lady a couple of weeks ago, it sounded very much like, where is she getting this information from? Who told her this? Right. Because she thinks I'm a devil worshiper and I'm a witch because I choose to understand astrology and I believe in spirituality and connecting with God and nature. Mm-hmm. And the more she kept telling me that I was a devil and this, that, and the other, and I wasn't going to get into the kingdom of heaven, I said, where would she get this from? If she goes to church and she knows the good book, why would you spit out things that are the exact opposite of that? Because you're judging me. You're playing God. I know that's the exact opposite of what's in the Bible. Yet you're trying to tell me that because it's in the Bible that it's this way. Where is she getting this from? Who's teaching her this? Because there's somebody that's brainwashing her into thinking this.
Tradition. Just traditionally the church picks out certain things to say this is not of God. That's the most favorite.
But why would the church do that?
God. Force of habit, I guess. I mean, it's like habit? Like once you hear something so many times, it gets instilled into your brain. It's like ingrained into your psyche. Like it becomes your indoctrination. Like for instance, my grandmother didn't like us playing cards when we was growing up because, I mean, I don't know exactly where they get that connection, but it's kind of like maybe playing cards got their roots from the tarot, but actually it's the opposite. Playing cards been around way longer than tarot.
I know, that's what I'm like, what?
So y'all kind of got that in reverse.
Is that what they think?
I don't know. Otherwise, what's the difference? Why are you mad about some diamonds? That's what I want to know. I love playing spades and being whist.
And that's what I want to understand. Why would you do? Why would that be a problem? And I know your grandma's not the only one. I know people. I've had people like that in my family.
Like you couldn't play cards or dominoes or dice.
So we can't have fun and be in the high vibration and connect with fellowship with our family and friends, because that's what that is.
Exactly.
Now, where in the Bible does it say I can't fellowship with my fellow man and my people?
Or better yet, where does it say you can't throw dice?
And that goes back to us utilizing it in the wrong way, because they equate that with gambling. And nobody said it has to be gambling. If I'm playing cards, doesn't mean I have to be gambling.
But I'm not gambling. I'm especially not playing if I'm playing Yahtzee,
right, I'm not gambling. But even if you are, that's your business.
Or Monopoly, that's just telling me how many pieces to go. I'm not gambling.
Right.
So, I mean.
But even if you are, it's so strange how much the church criticizes people's lifestyles.
Right, right.
And to me, that's the exact opposite of we don't judge our fellow man. So then why is it that you tell me that the way I live is right and wrong? Who are you? You're not God. You're never in the position because you got a title and your status.
Yeah.
And you don't even practice what you preach.
It just really comes from, I'm going to use the word ignorance.
Thank you. That's basically what it is.
The church, and I'm saying this in general, but everybody's not the same. But in general, we've been taught in the church to have and hold a certain type of ignorance. Like we will shun everything that we don't understand. We're not willing to learn anything else.
Don't want to know.
Even if it's in the Bible, you don't want to know it. There's so many people that don't read the Bible.
So help me understand where in the Bible does it say if I go outside and meditate that I'm worshiping devils?
Because it doesn't say that, but the thing is, I'm understanding people's ideology when they say that. I know what they mean when they say
What do they mean? I don't.
What they mean is they're assuming that if you're not praying to their God, and they're assuming that you're not praying to their God when you meditate. For one, we get words like meditation and chakras and karma. Those come from ancient Hindu traditions. Okay.
But who says that meditating doesn't involve prayer?
Exactly, because we can find the word meditation in the Bible.
Meditation and prayer.
Okay, so right. So, but the thing is, they assume that if you're not sitting up under the pastor in the church.
Thank you.
And
now we're talking.
If you're not in the church and you're doing any type of meditation, the assumption is that you must be doing it to some other God. And to me, that means here comes the ignorance part because they don't know what the word meditation means. Meditation is not the same as prayer. That's why we say meditation and prayer.
Because meditation is the divine talking back to us.
Is you allowing spirit to communicate with you. Now, if you want to pray, you want to ask for something, you can do that all day. But if you're going to be willing to listen, that means you got to sit down, be still, and be quiet.
And we can't do that because the Bible didn't say we can do that. And the pastor didn't say I could do that. So therefore, I can't do that, right? Because that's what she told me.
I guess.
I said, but God is in everything, young lady. What do you mean? I absolutely, I'm going to go outside and connect with God in nature.
See, that's a whole nother topic that I even have to go back and forth about this with my family. Understanding what energy is, first of all. Understanding what God is.
Do they talk about energy in the Bible? Probably not. Nothing about metaphysics.
So, yes and no. Yes and no. There are terms like, well, I'll say it like this. We lose the meaning of certain terminologies with the translation to English.
Okay.
So, for instance, in the Bible, in the very beginning, it says, the earth was without form and it was void, and the something like the spirit of the waters was over the deep, and all. It talks about how the air moves and the spirit moved upon the. So it mentions things that we know and recognize as energies, and is referring to God and how God moves.
Yeah.
But we're not allowing us in the church to make those connections.
We're not. Because we still consider God to be a whole person and thing. And I know I say he a lot. I'm trying to work on using something genderless. That's why I prefer to say
he,
divine.
She, whatever, yeah, right.
Because we always equate it with.
Right. And that's why we choose to use words like spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Opposed to God. Like God is not a name. You know,
it's not.
It's an English word that we've attributed to what we call the divine. And yeah, that's a whole nother topic there. But even the Bible does talk about like the four winds or different types of angels or different hierarchies of angelic beings.
Talk about that.
So we do see evidence in the Bible of different energies or different frequencies or different. We do see that. We just in the church we're not taught to relate that.
Because when they say Holy Spirit, and when I told this young lady, absolutely, I believe in spirit guides. I believe she again told me that was witchcraft.
Spirit guides. Explain to the people what you mean by spirit
what
guides.
I mean by spirit guides, I mean Jesus. I mean Saint Michael. I mean those entities, those energies that are sitting at a higher level of vibration, closer to the divine. I mean, my deceased family members, my ancestors. I know for a fact one of my great aunts is a spirit guide because I had a mediumship. She told me this lady's name.
And to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, right?
Amen. So why is it that I'm crazy for believing it? This is why I was so confused and frustrated when I realized I can connect with my mom and dad on the other side. I said, they never taught me this. I wish I had known this a long time ago.
Okay, so get this. Jesus took 2 of his disciples with him. Mm-hmm. I think it was, I don't know. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to say that forever. I think it was John and Peter or anybody. He took 2 people up to a certain place with them, and they had an event called the Transfiguration. Mm-hmm. I know you probably heard about that in Catholic school.
I probably did. I don't remember.
Oh, Lord. Okay, anyway. So the Transfiguration, they went to this certain thing, and all of a sudden, Jesus started lighting up, and the Bible describes it like energies all over. His face got transfigured.
Really? Right? Oh no, I didn't know about this.
But at the time that happened, there was 2 figures with him. Mm. Who they say, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Elijah and Moses or somebody appeared. Wow. Like 2 other prophets appeared who was dead for
way before Jesus.
Right.
See?
And they appeared.
Because those his ancestors.
Exactly. So if that can happen, what's wrong with other ancestors appearing, or we communicate with them, or they come back? If God can do it in one instance, why y'all limiting God?
Right.
To just, and that's why y'all don't experience nothing, because you put limits on it.
They do. They block their own blessing because it happened in the Bible. It can't happen again. Like people believing Jesus is coming back to save us. Jesus did his job. You got to be your own savior. We are our own saviors. I'm not saying Jesus won't return, but if you're sitting around waiting on Jesus to save you, you're in for a rude awakening, soulmates. We got to save ourselves. God has already given us that.
For the right here and now. Like,
that's it.
For right now.
All of us got a divine purpose. It wasn't just Jesus.
I mean, well, Jesus was he
had the highest purpose.
Well, he tried to be an example for what we're supposed to be.
And he did.
He tried to teach you how to be a Christ.
We all can be Christ-like. I'm not Jesus Christ, but I'm Christ-like because I choose to want to help heal people.
You Keana Christ. See, look, listen. Christ is not a name.
Ooh, they gonna get you.
I don't care. Christ is not his name. It's a title.
Because who came up with that? Us, the people.
Well, yeah. And actually, yes. Yes. Because the word Christ, first of all, is not a Hebrew word. Mm-hmm. It's a Greek. We get it from the Greek, Christos. Mm. And it simply means one that's enlightened. And it existed before Jesus. Right. So
he was just the most enlightened.
Right. So we attribute that word to Jesus. Jesus was not the Christ, because that word already had a concept. It already was in existence. Right. So it was like.
That's so interesting.
It's like the word Lord. Lord is not something that belongs to Jesus.
That's true. That is so true.
It has a real meaning. Lord means something.
Because don't they still refer to lords and like the kingdom? Exactly. and you right. So yeah, they do refer to them as Lord.
Right. It has a meaning. It's a purpose. It's a function.
Yeah.
So same as Christ. It's a function. But Jesus was the Christ that we're looking to as our example, and we need to try to emulate that.
I agree. And that's what I've tried to understand. Did the church instill that into the people? Or does the church just tell people, just listen to me? Do they think the pastor the only one that's Christ-like? Do they not know that they also are Christ-like?
Or
the Pope. And let me tell you, this new Pope, he's different.
Is he? I don't know nothing about
He is. He's nothing like the old popes. He's a little more reserved, a little more laid back. He's trying to challenge the status quo, but you know how those Catholics are too. Again, I just feel like they're all rules. It's just all rules to control the way people move and operate. Why? I just don't know if God really wanted that for us. I don't believe that. I don't believe that God said, create your gang, come up with your rules, and you tell them to praise me this way. Right. I believe God already gave us that. I just firmly believe that. I've seen what God has done, and I haven't had to go to church. Then I haven't had to tithe to the church, because I'd rather pay my tithes to the man on the homeless street in the street corner. I'd rather feed the people out here that I see needing it. Right. I'm not saying don't give your money to the church, but where is it going? Is it going to the pastor's pockets? Is it going into the community? If you can't eat, are they going to feed you? Will they put a roof over your head?
Maybe. I mean, there's probably some good, I know there's some good churches out there, but what we're seeing is, as a whole, the structure has failed.
If the pastor is saying, I'm not going to let you out until I get $40,000, that's a problem.
Right.
Because it's not a lock-in because we're about to save the community.
It's a lock-in
because I'm trying to line my pockets. Is that okay, soulmates? And you're going to tie to somebody like that? Wake up, soulmates. That's narcissism to me, because you're playing off these people's emotions and fears because they think that if they don't come in here every Sunday and give you this money, they're going to go to hell.
So I just thought about something. Now, there's one instance in the Bible where Jesus got mad. He got angry.
Come on, tell me about my brother Jesus.
He got so mad. So here's what was happening. The temple, whatever, had like this outer courtyard.
Okay.
Where people would go in and they would like go buy their sacrificial lambs and their doves to make their sacrifices and stuff. So like the church was making money off the people. Mm-hmm. First of all, demanding that they make these sacrifices, but you had to come and buy the stuff from the church. Jesus got mad. He got pissed off.
I know that's right. He was
like, y'all not gonna do this in my father's house. And he went and he tied up some ropes or whatever he did and made a whip. And he was
Jesus for the hill?
Yeah, he went in there. He was whipping people out. He's like, get out of here. Yeah, and turned over the table, the money changing tables. Because that was the thing. You had to, before you could buy your sacrifice, you had to exchange your money. So you had to buy. I don't know.
That reminded me of the scene in New Jack City when Nino was sitting there and the old man came in and says, "You're killing your own people." And he was just sitting there with the money, with the pastor sitting at the table. I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly that. You love New Jack City though.
I don't know why it just hit me.
You done mentioned that a couple
times. I know, because I don't know why, for whatever reason.
Hey, you know what's something though? New Jack City was the first rated R movie that I ever saw at the theater. Oh man, I had to have been like 10, 9 or 10.
Okay.
I don't even remember. Honestly, my mind is cloudy, but I just know that was the first rated R movie that I saw. My mama dropped me off, me and my guy, and
you couldn't have been that young. Your mama used to drop you off at the theater at 9 or 10 by yourself.
Think about what year New Jack City came out.
It was like 91, right?
Was it?
Yeah, because I was born.
Okay, well, no, okay, so I won 92.
I'm like, I know you was older than that.
Then it could have been, 91. No, it couldn't have been the first rated R movie I saw.
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure you was a teenager at that
point. The first one without a guardian.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that in 91, so that means I would have been like 14, 15.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, teenager.
Okay, well, 14, but still. You had to be like 17 or you had to have a guardian.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Then. That's true. You're right.
Anyway, so yeah, right. That's a side note. But anyway, where was we? Yeah, so Jesus got mad because they was like, first of all, exchanging money and making money off of other people's money just so they can go buy the sacrifice. So it was kind of like, ain't no other way you can make your sacrifice to God unless you buy it from the church. You had to buy your doves and the lambs and stuff. Jesus was like, no, we overturned the tables and
that's not how this is going to work. Right. See, I feel the same way. The church got to stop playing with God. Those that are acting like spiritual leaders on behalf of God, y'all better walk it like y'all talk it.
And what y'all better realize is that y'all acting like the people Jesus didn't like.
Exactly. So what do you think is going to happen, Pastor?
The church today is what Jesus don't like. So if he come back, he coming for y'all.
Y'all, thank you.
When Jesus come
Wake
back,
up, soulmates, and will, because y'all out here playing with God. You will not. You will not use the church in that way. You will not take advantage of people's emotions, their fear, their pain, their struggles, because that's what the world does. Their vulnerability. And that's why I'm speaking out against this, because this is sick. It's disgusting. I've had enough. My children, my baby, I only have one child, by the way. My legacy, they deserve more than this. Your legacies deserve more than a world that has been built on that toxic system for far too long.
If people really feel hopeless, I've seen people in church, like when it comes time to give offering and tithes, look so sad and depressed.
Because they feel
like they really don't have the money to give, but they don't even have like food at home.
But they don't give up their last.
They don't give their last.
And that's not right. How can the pastor sleep at night knowing that you got people I could never, ever do that to anybody. It's never that serious.
And it's a misinterpretation, and not just a misinterpretation, but a misunderstanding too. Mm-hmm. I don't blame people for their misunderstanding.
But why do they do the tithes? Help me understand what this is about. Why do they feel so obligated?
Because we teach and preach that we owe God 1/10 of our earnings. Why do we owe God? What is God going to do with your money? First of all,
God don't need money.
God don't speak English. God don't
God don't need money.
God is not a man that he cares about your earthly possessions. Like, yes, provide for the church. I get it. Y'all be a congregation and help pay the bills.
Have a solid foundation.
Yeah, pay the bills. Have some dinners for the people. Do some things.
Support the community.
Right, support the community. I get it. If you're giving for that purpose, fine. And also, if your pastor doesn't have a regular job, I know a lot of pastors don't. Some do.
Right.
But if your pastor don't have a regular job, then yeah, you might have to make sure he stay alive, make sure he can eat. But if that's the case, you buy that pastor one house.
And that's it.
Right. One house and a car. So once you did that, you make sure his bills is paid. But you don't have to like make him fat and rich.
That part. And you don't have to feel entitled or obligated. But somebody's going to say, well, the Bible says.
Well, what the Bible says about 1/10 or a tithe, really, it wasn't about money. It was about adding to the storehouse in the community.
The community.
So like what it was a mechanism placed to where you didn't have such of a surplus.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for, surplus. To where you wouldn't have wasted food. Mm-hmm. So you gave 1/10 and it went into the storehouse, and that went to feed the poor and help the people who was needy in the community.
Yeah.
It wasn't about necessarily giving it to God or giving it to the church or whatever. It had a purpose.
Right.
So that you didn't have waste.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, sometimes I feel like I buy too much food. It was only,
But eventually you eat it, right?
Sometimes I cook too much. I think about that sometimes. I buy and cook too much food. There's not enough people in the house to eat everything I cook. So I think about that. Dang, I should have gave this away. And sometimes I do. I got a friend that I do. If I cook something, I give him a plate or something. Mm-hmm.
That's how you pay it forward. I give it to the homeless. Right, and it just hurts me to see how we can just act like they don't exist. And then the story is, well, I don't know what they're doing with the money. Now, if you give them the money, that's theirs. You can't dictate how they're going to spend it, but if they say they're hungry, feed them.
Right. But by no means am I going to feel like I'm going to hell if I don't pay 1/10 of my income.
Not to the church, not to the pastor, and he eats good, wearing rings on his fingers, on every finger, driving a Rolls Royce. I'm not going to feed into that.
Yeah. And I'm not going to compete with church people or Christians telling me I'm not doing enough, because I probably give away more money than y'all give to your church.
Probably do.
I probably do. Just helping people out.
Probably right, because you can go into church that one day out of the week. What's the rest of those other days of the week look like? Are you living in that purpose? Are you living in alignment, doing the Lord's work, or are you only just checking in on Sunday?
Right. But not to bash the church.
No, these are questions that I just want people to ask themselves.
Yeah, and you have to self-reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we put ourselves in a position where we're almost afraid to reflect on the church.
Oh no, we're scared to challenge the status quo.
And I understand the fear, because you've been conditioned to think that if you go against this, you're gonna go to hell.
Plus,
your
not to
soul
mention,
is gonna burn forever.
The fact that it's hard to unlearn something that you knew was true most of your life, especially if you're 40 plus years old. Do you know how hard it is to unlearn that?
But what if we lived in a different society? Like, suppose we wasn't born in America, in this Christian society, even though it's not that anymore. But what if we was born somewhere in Tibet? Okay. What would you be if you was born in Tibet? You'd be a Buddhist or something.
I probably would.
Yeah. You would be a diehard Buddhist and nobody could tell you nothing else.
I don't know if I would be a diehard Buddhist. I don't know if I would be a diehard anything because I don't believe in religion.
I mean,
but I do like some of their philosophies and
Well, what I'm saying is, if you was born in a certain society, you would be acclimated to that society. Right. That would be part of you. Like, you wouldn't be sitting here talking about Jesus.
Right. That's true. I wouldn't.
Right. You'd be talking about Siddhartha Gautama.
Right.
That's the Buddha's real name.
Right.
Right.
Somebody else. Right, some other man.
Right. You'd be talking about something else if you was born in Iraq. You'd be talking about Islam.
That's true.
Or something.
So it's based on the culture, and I understand that. And to each their own, but this here culture that we're in, oh no, so man, we gotta unlearn and get acclimated to the here and the now.
I really believe that at some point there's going to be a spiritual revolution.
Oh, it's already underway.
Yeah, there's going to be an overflow. Like, God is going to reintroduce His Spirit into humanity. It has to rejuvenate.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Period. I'm Keana, spiritual leader. This is exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
I think God is
great awakening. Right. It's beautiful. And that's what's going to happen. I think more people are going to stop believing in what they were taught in the church. And they're going to start to see that, wait a minute, I may not need this. God is showing me something different. God is starting to help me see that. No, I don't believe this anymore. No, I don't like the way this is being portrayed. I don't like what I'm seeing anymore.
Right. I believe God is allowing some of the old energy to die out.
And that's why we're going through these tough challenges right now. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
people who have certain ideas and ideologies and held on to it for generations, they're going to die out. Sad to say.
It is, but it's time.
It is.
It's time.
It's a new age.
Because can I tell you, the narcissist that I was interacting with, he and I would always bump heads about love because he kept trying to make me think that what he was doing for me was a form of love by him trying to control and not respect my boundaries. And I kept saying that is not what love looks like, because love doesn't fight. Love doesn't control. See what I'm saying? Ooh. You can't play with God like that.
I just thought about something. You know, all those super pastors who end up with these cults.
Yep.
And they take people out to the desert and do all the type of, have them living in tents. And those type of people also do it in the name of love. It always starts, if you notice, if you follow those types of stories.
And so they say.
It starts off with love. And he makes all the people love him, and next thing you know, he got 5 wives, but you have to love me now. You have to love me because we have to grow this population that we have.
Yes.
Right? And then it becomes a control thing where now they're giving him all their money, they're working for him, and all those cult-like cultures.
And that's exactly what it was.
Always stems from love, or what this person wants to portray.
They play off play off those emotions.
Right. People feel emotional to they feel like this is the new thing. This is what I have to follow. I'm going to be a bad person if I don't follow this.
Right.
And to me, the church is the same way.
It is. It definitely is.
It was formed under the spirit of manipulation, first of all.
Thank you.
Jesus didn't create this church that we have.
No, I know.
Jesus didn't make Catholicism. In fact, the followers of Jesus were still Jewish, not Jewish. I don't like. Don't kill me, y'all. I don't even like the word Jewish. Jewish. You get it? Ish.
Right. So just say the Jews,
the Hebrews, or the people who followed Judaism at the time. His followers were still practitioners of Judaism.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense.
Right. They were Hebrews. They were Israelites, I guess.
Right.
So he wasn't trying to like start a new church or introduce a new God.
He was just trying to live in his purpose and do what God sent him here to do.
But to reintroduce what God is. Yep. Jesus turned God from being a king ruler to being father.
Right. Now, here we are. So let's talk about that father. Whoo, child. Let's talk about that. Because the role of the father in society, what does that look like? A lot of us didn't even have a father.
Okay.
And when I say that as us, I mean the women and men, but women especially. So then we find the pastors or other men to fill that father void. And this is how we get out of misalignment with God. Because we're not realizing where the real father lies, or the mother, or whomever it is that we're feeling like we're lacking. But for women especially, it's a father wound. Even some men who lack that. So that they trying to be narcissists and control because they didn't get that love and that support from their fathers. Again, when you're not in alignment with God, because when you start noticing the people in your life are not showing up the way that you need them to, you connect with the divine. You don't keep fighting and forcing and finding other things and other people.
Right.
I'm not going to go to this church, or I'm not going to go find all these people in the church to lay with. No, I'm getting myself right with God because I'm out of alignment. Okay. I'm disconnected from myself. But that's powerful that you said that.
Yeah, Jesus introduced the Father. Like, you're not going to find, I challenge you to find anywhere in the Bible where Jesus used the word Jehovah.
No, I don't think Jesus would.
He didn't use the word Jehovah. He didn't use the word Yahweh or none of that. Father.
And so it's funny you say that, because now I'm trying to show people what God is showing us is we don't have to beg, borrow, steal, cheat, scheme, lie for any love or abundance, because y'all play with the word love so much so that we've abused it, we've misused it. And God has shown me that that's not what love looks like. If we don't have that love in us, we won't know what love, healthy love, looks like. That's why I kept arguing with this man. I said, you don't even know how to love yourself. So how can you tell me what love is? I know what love is. God has shown it to me.
What is love?
The minute I chose me, when I said I was going to fight for me, that's when I knew what love was, because it was the love for myself. The more you can love yourself is the more love you have with the divine, with God. Because that's the most respectful way I could show God, is I love and respect me first and foremost, that I won't allow anything to disrespect me and take me out of alignment with you, God. Because the minute that happened, I was out of alignment. We get so caught up in other things and people. We got somewhere along the lines, love was just a thing we had to prove ourselves to get. We never had to prove, because we were born with love. We came into this world with love in us. That's all we knew how to do. So why is it then that we now have to prove it or seek it outside or get the validation? No, we don't have to pay for love. We ain't got to borrow it, beg. None of that. It should just be given freely. It's the conditions around love that the world has given us. Because as far as I'm concerned, love is love. I'm going to still honor and respect and treat people with kindness, because that's the way I love. I don't care if I don't ever see you again, if I don't sleep with you, if I don't work with you. It's because we are all God's children, and I choose to love and respect you just because of that.
I have a word for you.
Yes.
Benevolence.
Mm-hmm.
Benevolence, I equate that with love.
Mm-hmm.
When you say something or someone is benevolent, that means you're looking out for every possible good situation, every possible good outcome for that person or for that thing.
Yes.
And so if all of your actions and all your emotions is driven by that concept, benevolence, that means I'm automatically going to be thinking, what's the best thing I can do? What can I do to make the best situation for this person, no matter what the topic is, no matter what the subject is. Like, and I think that's how God is for us. When we say God is love, God is benevolent.
And is. And I agree with that.
And so that's where we get the saying that all things happen for the good of those that love God. Mm-hmm. Not that all good things will happen, but all things happen for the good.
Yes.
That's benevolence.
It is.
Making sure that the best possible outcome happens for you if you follow the guidance.
If you do. So, you know what's funny? I didn't learn that in church. I learned that in the 12-step program.
Okay.
And they taught me I got the God of my own understanding. That's how I reconnected with God. That's how I connected with my spirit. That's where it began. But it's benevolent. I remember when I met with the medium, she said, I only connect with benevolent souls, with benevolent spirits. So when my family showed up, that made me feel good. They're at peace. They're benevolent. I'm grateful. Of course they're going to come to me because I'm in a space where I'm open to receiving that. I'm in a higher vibration. You choose to look for the good. That's actually something else I learned in 12 step. Look for the good.
Look for the good.
You have to look for the good, especially in this world we live in. Every day you have to look for something good because it's easy to see everything that's wrong. What if you start looking for the good? Watch what will happen. Your life changes when you just start to look for the good in any and everything, even the most tragic things.
Like, how could you see what's good if you're not looking for it?
If you're not looking for it.
Like, so many things will just pass you by if you don't pay attention. Right?
It will. As somebody who couldn't see the good in myself, to when I didn't even think life was worth living, I have to be intentional about looking for the good. Because a lot of people, believe it or not, deal with these things. A lot of us have been depressed or will be depressed or are already depressed. But we don't know how to look for the good, and we're not even willing to even share it or connect with God to help us see that. How do I get out of this? How do I look for the good? How do I unlearn this? Before I go run and take these pills or self-medicate, talk to God. That's what I learned in the time frame of me having to rebuild my life. And again, no disrespect, but I did not go to a church for any of this.
Yeah.
Because God had already had it in me.
I mean, we've just been taught to be dependent on the church.
Dependent. What did I say earlier? Narcissism. Codependency is the thing. Now, say it again. We have become dependent.
Yeah, we've been trained to be dependent on the church as if you can't get what you need outside of the church.
And the pastor is dependent on your money, and he can't get what he needs unless you in the church.
You.
Do you see what's happening? It's this codependent. You need me.
Right.
So give me, but it's still, it's.
I mean, like okay. So everybody doesn't live in our type of structure in our society. Everybody don't live in these, houses and.
They don't.
What about people living in the rainforest or people living in the jungle?
They don't go to church.
Like, they don't have a church to go to.
But you best believe they believe in something. They gotta have a higher power to be out in those places.
Those people never heard your English language. They never heard no type of preaching or none of that. They probably don't even know Jesus or the name of Jesus.
That's true.
There's people in this world who just have not been reached by your God. Right, your God.
Or what you think is your God. And see, here's the other thing. If Christians know that we have the choice of free will, that is everybody's human right. So how come I can't have a God of my understanding? Who says that my God has to look like your God? It doesn't make me right nor wrong. I just choose to have my own belief.
Right, because again, what happens to those people who live in these remote places where they don't have contact with the outside world? You better believe they're human and they have a sense of spirituality.
They do.
We are spiritual beings.
We are. And that's all I was trying to get this young lady to see.
If God is the source of all these creatures here,
everything. So let's stop. Let's unlearn this thing about being in nature and astrology. Let's stop saying that that's devil worshiping and witchcraft, because I know I don't look like anybody's devil or anybody's witch, because I don't.
Just because you see God in
Yes, in all things.
To me, that's an elevated sense of reality.
It is, because God is in all things.
But get this. The church will teach all day. I'm pointing at you. That God is omnipresent.
Thank you.
God is omniscient. And God is omnipotent. Okay, we get the omnipotent part. That means he's all powerful. Okay, we can agree on that one. What's the other one? Omniscient. That means he knows all. We can agree on that one.
Yeah.
But what about the omnipresence?
Omnipresent.
How are you explaining God's omnipresence if you're not willing to say that God is in everything? How can he be present everywhere but not be in everything? Everything that grows out of the earth, everything is everything.
And I guess when you ask it, because see, now that you put it that way, people probably be like, I don't know, I never thought about it like that.
But then you can
That's exactly why we're having these conversations.
So you can start thinking about it.
Now it's time for you to think on your own, soulmates. Just start to think on your own for a minute. Just pause and sit with, because God, I'm just trying to get y'all to see soulmates. God's just sending me here to show us. Tell them that they don't have to believe everything that they're hearing, everything that's being told to them. Everything that we've been taught is not 100% true. And it's okay to ask questions. And it's okay to say, no, I don't believe in that. Or I don't agree with that anymore.
And it's okay to wonder and sit and meditate, because that's when God will send you information.
And all the time.
I had a revelation. Here's what made me understand the omnipresence of God. I sat one day, and I was very young, very, very young. And I was like, what is it that makes all of this happen? And then we started learning in school how the sun radiates energy and provides the energy for everything to live.
Thank you.
But then I learned something even deeper. Looking at the periodic table of all the elements, hydrogen is like the
highest.
Yeah, the highest element, and like everything else kind of trickles down from it, right? The sun is primarily made of, well, not primarily, it's made of hydrogen. But what happens is hydrogen atoms come together and they cause a fusion. It's not a combustion, but it's a fusion. That's two different things.
Right.
But when the hydrogen atoms fuse, they start to form helium. And then when helium mixes with more hydrogen, then it starts to form other things. And the next thing you know, you got oxygen. Then you got, so what I'm saying
it's all
is
energy.
But
this all goes back to science.
But here's what I'm really getting at. All these elements that created everything that we see, everything, us included, starts out as one form of energy.
Right.
And it all meshes together to create this matter that we're talking about.
Right.
That's what helped me understand that God is really in everything. If one element, hydrogen, can be the source of all this matter eventually, then I see how God works.
That's right.
God is a one element that has infused itself and has transformed itself into everything.
Sun, moon, stars, quasars, all of it.
So you can't separate different parts of reality and say, well, this is God, but that's not God.
And that's why I keep saying make it make sense, because
please make it make sense.
We don't pick and choose. God is just all that there is. That's why I say, that's why I love it, that I just feel like it's interchangeable for me. It's all that exists around us, and we can just sit and pause. Go sit outside and appreciate the sun being out. That is a gift. That is a blessing for the sun to come out every day. And the moon, I love the moon. That is beautiful. How fortunate are we that we get a chance to see these planets day in and day out? And planets are moving rapidly and eclipses are happening. We are fortunate and blessed to have that. It could be dark 24/7 all day if God wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So why don't we go out there and say, thank you, sun, for shining on me today?
But you know what? What you just described is actually one of the gifts, what the Bible calls one of the gifts of the Spirit.
Yes, it is.
A gift of awe and wonder. Everybody don't have that. Everybody doesn't have the ability to appreciate everything in nature. Like I like
That's
going
unfortunate.
out. Yeah, sometimes I go out walking by myself. I go to the nature preserves and just chill.
That's
you know, like
it.
people don't understand that type of stuff, and you don't have to. But that's my gift.
That's right. That's
When
how
I
I
touch the mic,
feel.
I hate touching the mic.
Probably did,
Yeah.
but that's how I feel. Connected. I feel connected. Obviously, I still feel connected all day to God because I talk to God all day. Out loud, because I do it out loud.
But another Christian concept, they say pray without ceasing. Mm-hmm. We say just always have a connection.
That's it. However you choose to connect with God is your choice, soulmates. You do what you want to do. However, I just want you to be cognizant of what it was that you were taught and what you truly feel deep down inside of your heart of hearts. Because if you didn't have that Bible, what would your heart tell you is true about God?
Ooh. That's something right there. What if you didn't have the Bible? What would you do?
What would you do?
Because you almost didn't have it. You know that, right? It wasn't made available to you until like the year 1615 or whatever, whenever King James allowed you to have it. Because before that,
and then that was his version.
Right. Before that, you just had the actual Latin that the Catholics had. The what was the Vulgate?
I don't know what it was. They didn't teach me that.
Well,
they didn't teach
you
us
went
that.
To Catholic school.
They didn't teach me any of that. Are you serious? No, I didn't go. No.
I'm a study. I studied.
Right, but they didn't teach us that, any of that.
But anyway, the Latin. So you got the Septuagint and the Vulgate. But anyway, that's anyway. Everybody didn't have access to the Bible. There was a good chance that you would not have had access to the Bible because for a while, everyone who tried to translate it into English got executed. Until finally, King James came up with a version that they decided they wanted to offer to you.
Why would I have to be killed if I'm just trying to translate? That sounds like slavery. Couldn't even learn how to read. Why?
Well, it sounds like they didn't want you to have some of the truth.
Thank you.
They didn't want it. They didn't want you to be able to read what it really said.
Did we make it make sense yet?
Right. But so that's an interesting thing. What if people didn't have the Bible? I thought about this earlier. What if we had it in our hands for the first time? Mm-hmm. And we never had a chance to be indoctrinated on it. Mm-hmm. We never had somebody preach to us what it's supposed to mean, or nobody told us what it meant before we had a chance to read it. Yeah, because that's really what happened. We grew up in Sunday school. Even before we were able to read, they told us what it meant before we were even able to read it for ourselves, so that when we do read it, we already had a preconceived notion of what it's supposed to mean. Yeah. So at that point, you're not even giving yourself a chance to use your own context clues or anything. No,
group think. We don't have time to think for ourselves.
Right. You were told what it meant before you were able to read it. So what if you got it for the first time without somebody telling you what it meant? What would you believe about it?
Would they read it? Sometimes we don't even want to read. No, I'm joking.
Well, I mean,
that's true. They probably wouldn't believe it.
Or they would see it in a different way. They would probably see it as another piece of mythological literature. Mm-hmm. The same way we read like the Iliad and the Odyssey, like the ancient Roman,
a Shakespeare story.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right.
Good point.
Like even we can get Afrocentric, like some of the African gods and goddesses, and do some of y'all believe that those gods are actual real deities? Mm-hmm. Or entities, or do you see it as a mythology?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying the Bible is mythology, but what I'm saying is
it can be considered.
It can be
a story like mythology.
I'm not afraid of the word mythology.
Me neither.
Because to me, there's value in myth. I'm not one that has to say every story in the Bible had to have happened exactly the way that it's told.
That's what I'm saying.
But these stories were created for your benefit. They were created to teach you something. They were created to teach you a lesson. just like Jesus taught in parables.
Mm-hmm.
The stories he told were not real, but he made up a story so that you can understand a certain circumstance.
Sounds familiar.
Right. Okay. So if Jesus can talk in parables and teach his people in parables, how come other people could not have sat down and wrote other stories almost
on behalf like that?
Yeah, almost 60 basically to 80 years after he died.
Because they did.
Because they did. They wrote some stories
that we believe are truth. But at the end of the day, it's still a story.
It's just a story. I'm not saying okay, I did say it's just a story, but
the way that it's been like translated, it's a story in story form.
I guess what I'm trying to say, what I'm really trying to break this down to say is that I'm not so stuck in my mind or dogmatically thinking that everything has to be literal truth. I'm okay with stories being myth.
Right.
If it's written for a purpose and for me to learn something, I'm okay with that. I wish other people were okay with that too.
Me too. Me too. And just be okay with it. Don't judge it. Don't criticize it. Gosh, because y'all love to be trying to cancel somebody.
Yeah.
That says a lot about you, soulmate. Just letting you know. But nonetheless, soulmates, I appreciate you all hanging out with us this evening.
Watch out for those narcissists.
Please, soulmates, be aware.
And be kind to each other. Like, don't be actual in love with each other. Like, have benevolence, have some empathy, have some compassion. Don't be a manipulator.
Please be true servants and children of God. Okay, let's walk it like we talk it, the way God created us to be.